There is a bird in your yard right now that has been watching you, not for weeks, for its entire life. And there is one specific thing you could do, something that takes less than 2 seconds, that would change how that bird experiences every single day it has left. Almost nobody does it. Not because they don't care
I
about
hope
birds,
the birds like this
because
new
nobody
seed.
has ever told them it matters. By the end of this video, you will know exactly what it is, exactly why it works, and exactly how to do it tomorrow morning.
Right now.
A male cardinal that has visited your yard for 3 years has observed you hundreds of times. Every morning you stepped outside, every walk to the mailbox, every afternoon in the garden. He has not built a face recognition profile the way a crow would. That level of individual recognition belongs mainly to corvids. But songbirds build something else, a pattern profile, your gait, your routine, the tone of your voice through an open window, the rhythm of how you move. He cannot necessarily tell your face from your neighbor's, but he can absolutely recognize your overall presence pattern. And across thousands of small observations, he has done exactly that. He has categorized you, and that category is almost always the same one: safe presence. You don't lunge. You don't move unpredictably. From his perspective, that is the correct conclusion. But here is the part that matters. That categorization is not fixed. Birds continuously update their risk assessment of everything in their environment, including you. And there is one specific signal that can move you from background presence to something more specific, individually recognized, low risk. That shift is what people describe when they say a bird warmed up to them. And it is grounded in something observable. A study published in the Proceedings of the Royal Society tested how European magpies responded to humans who either looked directly at them or deliberately looked away. Magpies let the humans who weren't looking get significantly closer. They flushed earlier when stared at. The birds weren't just tracking whether a human was present. They were tracking where that human's attention was pointed. This sensitivity to gaze direction is documented across many species, not just corvids, because the reason for it predates corvid intelligence entirely. Every visual predator on Earth fixes its eyes on prey before striking. A direct, prolonged gaze is, by evolutionary default, the signal that precedes an attack. Birds that didn't track human eye direction didn't survive long enough to pass that trait on. This is why a brief, soft glance is so interesting. A 2-second look directed loosely at a bird, followed by your gaze moving naturally elsewhere, does not trigger the predator focus response. What it does instead is register as something new. Most people either never look at birds or stare too long, and both of those patterns have already been filed away as familiar. A brief, calm acknowledgement with no follow-up is a pattern the bird has not recorded from you before, and that new pattern has to be processed. Research on house sparrows published in Animal Cognition showed that sparrows learn to associate specific human voices with specific outcomes: food, threat, or simply neutral presence. The cardinal in your yard has heard your voice hundreds of times, through windows, during conversations on the porch. But he has almost never heard you speak in the tone people use when they address something directly: soft, low, calm, without sudden volume or sharpness. That tone gets filed as social communication, even though the bird does not understand a single word. He is reading the acoustic signature, the lack of aggression, the directional attention, and he is adding it to his profile of you. When you combine the brief glance and the soft voice, researchers studying long-term bird-human interactions have noted a consistent response. The bird notices almost instantly. He freezes for a fraction of a second, tilts his head, looks back at you. Here is where it is worth being precise, because the popular version of this moment gets the science wrong. The freeze is not recognition in any emotional sense. He is recalculating his flight distance because you broke your usual routine. You stopped instead of walking past. The head tilt is not acknowledgement either. Birds have eyes positioned on the sides of their heads. Tilting brings one eye forward so they can focus more clearly on something they want a better look at. What he is actually doing is gathering data on what just changed. But this still matters, because the data gathering itself is the proof that your action registered. The bird flagged you as different from the previous 1,000 interactions, and that flag is what eventually shifts the categorization. Birds that experience repeated, consistent, low-threat interactions with a specific human gradually allow closer approach. They return to feeders more reliably when that person is present. They reduce their alarm call frequency in response to that person's appearance. The bird is not experiencing affection. He is revising his risk model. But the practical result, a bird that stays on the fence post while you fill the feeder instead of flying to the far side of the yard, is real. And it is a direct result of behavior you control. A black-capped chickadee in the wild averages about 2.5 years of life, though some reach 11. A northern cardinal averages 3 years, though some live to 15. A robin averages 2, but can stretch to 13. These are short lives spent in a state of nearly continuous vigilance. And every day a bird spends in your yard represents a meaningful fraction of its existence. The chickadee that has been visiting your feeder for 2 years has been visiting it for most of its life, every morning, every afternoon, doing the same thing, assessing the environment for threats and resources. You are a major feature of that environment, whether you realize it or not. There are documented cases of birds maintaining what looks like vigil at locations long after the humans associated with those places stopped appearing. Crows returning for weeks to spots where a caregiver used to feed them. Individual birds maintaining presence at meaningful sites long after the events that made them significant had passed. It would not be accurate to extend that directly to cardinals and chickadees. The cognitive and social complexity behind those corvid behaviors is not present in most songbirds, but what is present across nearly all bird species is the capacity to track, learn, and respond to specific humans, and to update behavior in measurable ways based on what those humans do. If a bird has been coming to your yard for any length of time, you are part of its working profile of the territory. And there is a specific signal you can give that will measurably change how it perceives you. Tomorrow morning, when you go out to fill the feeder, stop for 2 seconds. Find the bird that is already there. There will almost certainly be one. They have learned your schedule. They are positioned for it. Look at him briefly. No more than a couple of seconds. Soft attention, not a stare. Say something quiet in a low tone. Whatever feels natural. Then look away. Finish what you came out to do. Go on with your day. If you do this consistently for a week, The bird's behavior will shift in ways you can observe. He will linger longer when you're outside. Allow closer approach. Reduce his alarm response when you appear. Within a month, the relationship will be measurably different, even if relationship is doing more work in that sentence than bird psychology can fully support. This is what the bird has been quietly registering for. Not friendship, not connection in the way humans understand those words. A recalibration of his risk model that meaningfully affects his daily life. To a cardinal that lives 3 years, the difference between treating your backyard as neutral but monitored versus actively safe with a known low-risk human is a real difference in the quality of his existence. Less time in alarm, more time feeding, more time resting, a lower baseline of stress. You can be the reason that shift happens. It takes 2 seconds. It costs you nothing. For the small life that has been quietly tracking you all this time, it is not a small thing. Tell me in the comments, is there a specific bird in your yard you've started to recognize as an individual? Have you ever stopped and acknowledged one directly? Did you notice a shift afterward? I read every one. I will see you in the next one.